The massive screen in Earth's United Defense Force headquarters turned bright red as multiple alerts flashed across its surface. Commander Richard Stone stood frozen, his coffee cup halfway to his lips, as he stared at the readings. The objects were massive, each one larger than anything humans had ever built in space, and they were moving fast toward the solar system. "Get me the Joint Chiefs," he ordered, his voice steady despite the weight of what he was seeing. "And someone wake up the president." Within hours, the quiet underground command center transformed into a storm of activity. Military personnel rushed between stations, their footsteps echoing off the steel walls as they carried reports and updated threat assessments. The objects had been detected just beyond Jupiter's orbit, and they were definitely not natural. "Sir," called out Lieutenant James from the radar station, "we're tracking 17 objects, each roughly the size of a small city. They're moving in formation." Stone nodded, his gray eyes fixed on the main display. After 20 years in the military, he had prepared for many scenarios, but first contact with an alien civilization hadn't been high on his list. Yet here they were, facing exactly that. In orbit, Earth's modest fleet of space stations and satellites captured the first images of the visitors. The ships were beautiful in a terrifying way, sleek silver vessels that seemed to shine like liquid metal in the sunlight. They moved with impossible grace for their size, clearly operating under technologies far beyond human understanding. The world's governments scrambled to respond. Emergency meetings were called in every major capital. In Geneva, the United Nations Security Council gathered for an unprecedented midnight session. The Chinese premier, American president, and European Union leaders all connected via secure video links, their faces showing varying degrees of concern and fear. "Ladies and gentlemen," Stone addressed the emergency meeting from his command center. "We are dealing with a civilization far more advanced than our own. Their ships are using propulsion systems we can't even begin to understand. Our initial estimates suggest their technology is at least several centuries ahead of ours." The room fell silent as Stone's words sank in. Humanity had just discovered it wasn't alone in the universe, and their first visitors were overwhelmingly powerful. Deep in space, aboard the Imperial flagship Eternal Dawn, Grand Admiral Vale studied the reports about the blue planet with mild interest. The Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds, and this one seemed particularly unremarkable. Their scans showed primitive spacecraft, basic satellite networks, and laughably weak weapons systems. Another simple subjugation, Vale noted to his command staff. "These humans haven't even achieved faster-than-light travel. Prepare the standard conquest protocols." What Vale and the Empire's high command couldn't know, was that they had made a crucial mistake. They had judged Earth's civilization by visible signs of advancement: space travel, energy production, and conventional military power. They hadn't bothered to look deeper. In a secret facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Helen Cooper watched the same alien ships approach on her monitors. Unlike the public facilities, her laboratory contained technology that didn't officially exist. Quantum manipulation devices lined the walls, the product of 20 years of classified research since the breakthrough discovery in 2025. "Commander Stone," she spoke into her secure line, "Project Phoenix is ready. Should they attack, we can activate the quantum grid." Stone acknowledged her message with a grim smile. Perhaps the Empire should have wondered why Earth's technology appeared to have developed so unevenly. Perhaps they should have questioned why a planet with relatively primitive spaceflight capabilities had such extensive underground facilities. But they didn't, and as the Imperial fleet moved into position around Earth, preparing to deliver their ultimatum, humanity held its breath and waited. The pieces were in place for a confrontation that would shake the galaxy's understanding of power and progress. The Empire was about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous predators are those that appear harmless at first glance. The world watched in stunned silence as the massive hologram appeared in the skies above every major city. The alien figure stood hundreds of feet tall, its form flickering with an otherworldly blue light. Grand Admiral Vale's appearance was almost human-like, except for his silvery skin and eyes that glowed with an inner light. "People of Earth," his voice boomed in perfect English, automatically translating to all languages worldwide. "Your planet has been chosen to join the Galactic Empire. Resistance is both futile and unnecessary. You have 48 hours to surrender your governments and submit to Imperial rule." In the United Defense Force bunker, Commander Stone watched the broadcast with narrowed eyes. Around him, military officers from different nations sat in tense silence. The emergency meeting had been called the moment the alien ships took up positions around Earth. "They're giving us 2 days," General Williams of the British forces said, breaking the silence. "That's either very confident or very stupid of them." Stone placed a thick folder on the table. "Maybe both. But it gives us time to activate our contingency plans." He opened the folder, revealing documents marked with Project Phoenix in bold red letters. 20 years ago, we discovered something that changed everything we knew about physics." The lights dimmed as Dr. Helen Cooper stepped forward, her silver hair gleaming in the soft light. "What we found wasn't just quantum manipulation," she explained, bringing up complex diagrams on the room's screens. "We discovered how to unravel reality itself. Small scale at first, but now." Above them, the Imperial ships hung in the sky like metal mountains. Their sensors swept the planet repeatedly, cataloging military installations, population centers, and infrastructure. But they missed the most important things: the hidden quantum laboratories buried deep underground, the networks of sensors that didn't operate on any known scientific principles, and the weapons that could tear apart the fabric of space itself. On the Imperial flagship, Vale received the initial reports with satisfaction. Primitive projectile weapons, basic nuclear capabilities, and no unified planetary defense system. He announced to his officers, "Standard conquest protocol will be more than sufficient." His second-in-command, Officer Reed, looked troubled. "Sir, there's something odd about their development pattern. Their quantum research facilities are barely worth mentioning." Vale cut him off. "They haven't even mastered basic space folding. Prepare the demonstration strike. We'll show them the futility of resistance." Back on Earth, in the secret facility beneath Geneva, world leaders gathered to make the most important decision in human history. The room was packed with presidents, prime ministers, and military commanders from every major nation. Stone stood at the podium, his voice firm. "The Empire expects us to surrender. They see our old satellites, our chemical rockets, our primitive space stations, but they don't see everything." He nodded to Dr. Cooper, who activated a hidden display. The screen showed a simulation of Project Phoenix in action. The audience gasped as they watched quantum weapons literally unravel an Imperial ship's atomic structure. "Their technology is advanced," Stone continued, "but it follows predictable laws of physics. Our quantum weapons don't. They can't defend against what they don't understand." "And if we fail?" asked the Chinese president, her face grave. "Then humanity goes down fighting," Stone replied. "But we won't fail. The Empire thinks they're giving us time to surrender. Instead, they're giving us time to prepare." Dr. Cooper stepped forward again. "All quantum facilities are ready. The network is in place. We can begin the moment they make their first move." As the meeting concluded, Stone looked at the satellite feed of the Imperial ships. They were beautiful, powerful, and utterly unaware of what awaited them. The Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds, but they had never faced humans before. They had never faced a species that had spent 20 years preparing for just this moment. The clock was ticking. In less than 48 hours, the Empire would learn why underestimating humanity was the last mistake they would ever make. The Empire's patience ran out exactly 6 hours before their deadline. Grand Admiral Vale stood on his command bridge, watching Earth's blue sphere with cold eyes. "Begin the demonstration," he ordered. "Show them what defiance will cost." 5 Imperial warships moved into attack position. their weapons charged with a blue glow that lit up the night sky. People around the world looked up in terror as death approached from above. Multiple energy signatures detected. Lieutenant James shouted in the Earth defense bunker. They're targeting New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, and Beijing. Commander Stone's face remained calm despite the crisis. Right on schedule, he said quietly. Dr. Cooper, are the shields ready? Quantum shields at full power, she replied from her station. But sir, we can only protect 2 cities with our current network. The others. Stone nodded grimly. I know. May God forgive us for the choices we have to make. The Imperial beams struck Earth like the fingers of an angry god. New York and London vanished beneath quantum shields that the Empire's sensors couldn't even detect. But in the other cities, massive explosions lit up the sky. The attacks weren't designed to destroy completely, just to demonstrate the Empire's power. Vale watched the destruction with satisfaction. Surely now they'll understand the futility of. He stopped mid-sentence, staring at the readings from New York and London. Why aren't there any damage reports? Officer Reed rushed to check the sensors. Sir, the beams hit the targets, but something absorbed them. We're getting impossible readings. In the underground quantum lab beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Cooper worked frantically at her controls. Data streamed across her screens as the quantum shields absorbed and analyzed the Imperial weapons' energy signatures. Commander, we've got it. Their weapon frequency is locked in. We can start developing countermeasures. The Empire launched a second wave of attacks, this time targeting military installations. But humanity wasn't sitting idle. Deep underground, in bunkers across the world, soldiers and civilians huddled together. The surface cities were largely empty, evacuated in secret during the 48-hour countdown. Sir, Lieutenant James called out, they're sending in ground troops. Dropships detected over multiple continents. Stone watched the tactical display as thousands of Imperial troops descended toward Earth. They landed in the damaged cities, expecting to find panicked survivors. Instead, they found empty streets and silent buildings. Where are all the humans? An Imperial squad leader reported back to Vale. The city is deserted. Vale slammed his fist on his command console. Find them. They must be hiding somewhere. Deploy the search drones. But the humans weren't just hiding. In his command center, Stone gave the order they'd been waiting for. Activate Project Phoenix. Phase 1. Around the world, hidden quantum transmitters powered up. They didn't attack. Not yet. Instead, they began mapping every Imperial ship, weapon, and soldier. Learning. Analyzing. Preparing. Dr. Cooper's voice came over the comm, excited despite the grim situation. Commander, the analysis is complete. Their entire technology base. It's vulnerable to quantum disruption. Their shields, their weapons, even their communication systems, they all depend on stable physical laws. Stone allowed himself a small smile. And our quantum technology doesn't play by those rules, does it? No, sir, she replied. We're ready to move to Phase 2 whenever you give the order. The Empire continued its assault, unaware that every blast, every troop landing, and every scan was giving Earth's defenders more data, more understanding, more ways to tear their technology apart. Vale stood on his bridge, frustrated by the humans' unexpected behavior. The rational response to overwhelming force was surrender. The rational response to devastating attacks was panic. But humans, as the Empire was about to learn, weren't always rational. Sir, Officer Reed reported nervously, we're detecting strange energy readings from beneath the surface, like nothing we've ever seen before. Vale frowned. What kind of readings? The kind that shouldn't be possible, sir. The kind that don't follow any known laws of physics. The first strike was ending. But for the Empire, the real nightmare was about to begin. The morning sun rose over empty cities and confused Imperial troops. Ground forces had spent hours searching buildings and underground tunnels, finding nothing but occasional signs of recent evacuation. In his command bunker, Commander Stone watched their frustration with grim satisfaction. "Status report," he ordered, looking at the huge display showing troop movements across the globe. "Imperial forces are spreading thin trying to find our people," Lieutenant James replied. "They've deployed search drones in every major city, but our quantum dampeners are keeping our bunker networks hidden." Dr. Cooper burst into the command center, her eyes bright with excitement. "Commander, the final tests are complete. Project Phoenix is ready for full deployment." Stone nodded slowly. "Show me." In the laboratory level below, screens displayed complex quantum calculations that would have seemed impossible just 20 years ago. Dr. Cooper pointed to a small device on the central table, no bigger than a laptop. "This is our key to victory," she explained. "When activated, it creates a field that unravels the basic laws of physics that their technology depends on. Their ships, their weapons, their shields, none of them can function when reality itself stops following their rules." On the Imperial flagship, Vela was growing increasingly frustrated. "How can an entire planet's population just disappear?" he demanded. "Find them." Officer Reed approached cautiously with a datapad. "Sir, we've detected unusual energy signatures. They're unlike anything in our database. And they seem to be growing." "Growing?" Vale's eyes narrowed. "Explain." "It's as if—" Reed hesitated, "as if the humans have found a way to bend reality itself." Vale laughed dismissively. "Impossible. They're primitives. They haven't even mastered basic space travel." At that moment, Stone gave the order. "Activate all quantum disruptors. Let's show them what primitives can do." Across the globe, hidden quantum devices powered up simultaneously. The effect was immediate and devastating. Imperial ships began experiencing system failures. Their seemingly invincible shields flickered and died. Communication systems filled with static and went dark. "What's happening?" Vale shouted as red alerts flashed across his bridge. "Get our shields back online." "We can't, sir." Reed's voice was panicked. "It's as if the laws of physics themselves are breaking down around us." In the quantum lab, Dr. Cooper watched the data stream in. "The disruption field is working perfectly. Their technology can't function when quantum stability is compromised." Stone turned to his communications officer. "Send the message. All channels." His voice broadcast across every Imperial frequency. "Attention Imperial forces. You're experiencing just a small demonstration of Earth's defensive capabilities. You assumed we were primitive because we hadn't mastered space travel. The truth is, we chose a different path. While you were conquering the stars, we learned to control reality itself. On the Imperial ships, chaos reigned. Weapons wouldn't fire. Navigation systems showed impossible readings. Even their artificial gravity began to fail in random sections." "Impossible," Vale whispered, watching his mighty fleet become useless. "They're supposed to be savages. How did they develop this technology?" In the bunker, Stone continued his message. 20 years ago, we discovered quantum manipulation. We knew someday we might face a threat from the stars. Instead of building ships, we built weapons that could unmake your technology. Instead of developing space travel, we learned to twist the fabric of reality." Dr. Cooper's monitors showed Imperial ships trying desperately to adapt. But their advanced technology, based on predictable physical laws, couldn't cope with quantum instability. "Your technology is impressive," Stone's message concluded, "but it follows rules. Our quantum weapons break those rules. This is your final warning. Leave Earth's solar system, or we will demonstrate the full power of our quantum arsenal." Vale stared at his useless controls, his face pale. For the first time in his long career of conquest, he felt real fear. These humans weren't primitive at all. They had simply chosen a different path to power, one that made all of the Empire's technological advantages meaningless. The Empire's easy conquest had become a nightmare. And this was just the beginning. The time for hiding was over. Across the globe, hidden bunkers opened their massive doors. Humanity's counterattack was about to begin. Commander Stone stood in the command center, watching as ground forces emerged from underground bases. "All units, commence Operation Thunderstrike," he ordered. His voice was steady, but his eyes showed fierce determination. Dr. Cooper monitored the quantum network from her station. Quantum disruption fields are at maximum power. Their ships are completely vulnerable. The Imperial ground forces, scattered across empty cities, suddenly found themselves facing an army that seemed to appear from nowhere. But these weren't normal human soldiers. Each carried weapons powered by quantum technology that ignored Imperial armor and shields completely. "Fall back," Imperial commanders shouted as their troops' advanced armor failed against weapons that shouldn't have existed. "Return to the ships." Vale watched in horror from his flagship as his ground forces were decimated. "Impossible. Their weapons, they're passing through our shields like they don't exist." "Sir," Officer Reed reported, his voice shaking, "we've lost contact with 30% of our ground forces. Their armor just stops working when hit by the human weapons." On the streets of New York, London, and other major cities, Imperial troops retreated in chaos. Their superior technology, their unbeatable armor, their energy shields, all useless against weapons that broke the laws of physics themselves. Lieutenant James's voice rang out in the command center. "Sir, Imperial dropships are attempting emergency evacuation of their forces." Stone nodded grimly. "Let them run." "Dr. Cooper, increase quantum field intensity around their capital ships. Don't let them regroup in orbit." The quantum disruption fields grew stronger. In space, Imperial ships drifted helplessly, their engines sputtering and dying, as reality itself turned against them. Their mighty weapons, capable of destroying cities, wouldn't even power up. "Commander," Dr. Cooper called out, "I'm detecting energy buildup in their fleet. They're trying to adapt their shields to our quantum attacks." Stone had expected this. "Activate Phase 2. Show them what happens when you corner humanity." Around the world, massive quantum cannons emerged from hidden mountain bases. Unlike the disruption fields that disabled Imperial technology, these weapons were designed for pure destruction. They fired beams of concentrated quantum energy that didn't just damage their targets, they erased them from existence. "Fire the quantum cannons," Stone ordered. "Target their support ships first." The sky lit up with strange, twisted light as the quantum beams struck. Imperial ships didn't explode. They simply ceased to exist, their very atoms unraveled by weapons that defied understanding. "This is impossible," Vale screamed as he watched his fleet vanish ship by ship. "No primitive race should have this power. All ships, retreat. Full emergency withdrawal." But retreat wasn't easy when their engines wouldn't work properly. The mighty Imperial fleet, terror of 1,000 worlds, was being torn apart by a civilization they had dismissed as primitive. Dr. Cooper's voice was triumphant as she reported, "Their fleet is in complete disarray. Quantum cannons are functioning at full power. We can target their command ships now." Stone clicked his comm channel open to all Earth forces. "This is our moment. Push them back. Show them why you never underestimate humanity." Around the world, humans cheered as they watched Imperial ships disappearing from their skies. The ground forces that had so confidently invaded their cities were now trapped, their evacuation ships destroyed or disabled. Vale stood on his failing bridge, watching his mighty fleet die. "How?" he whispered. "How did we not see this coming?" The answer was simple, though the Empire would never understand it. Humanity had looked to the stars and known they weren't alone. Instead of rushing to meet their neighbors, they had prepared. Instead of building an empire, they had built weapons that could destroy one. The counterattack was devastating, precise, and unstoppable. And it wasn't over yet. The Empire was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their quantum technology. It was their determination to never be conquered. Grand Admiral Vale stood in his damaged command center, watching his mighty fleet crumble before weapons he couldn't understand. His silver skin had lost its shine, and his glowing eyes dimmed with growing fear. "Launch everything we have," he ordered, his voice shaking with rage. "Every fighter, every dropship, every weapon. I will not be defeated by primitives." The Empire's remaining ships released thousands of fighter craft. They filled Earth's skies like angry metal wasps, desperate to prove their power. But humanity was ready for this too. In the underground command center, Commander Stone watched the incoming swarm with steady eyes. "They're desperate now," he said to his officers. "That makes them dangerous. Dr. Cooper, are the pulse weapons ready?" "Yes, sir," she replied, her fingers flying over her control panel. "Quantum pulse generators charged to maximum. One burst will disable their entire fighter screen." Stone nodded. "Do it." Across the globe, hidden quantum transmitters activated simultaneously. There was no visible beam, no explosive sound, just a wave of twisted reality that spread outward like ripples in a pond. When it touched the Imperial fighters, their systems simply stopped working. Thousands of fighters fell from the sky like metal rain, their pilots ejected in panic, their escape pods barely functioning in the quantum-disrupted air. Earth's surface forces moved quickly to capture the stranded Imperial troops. "Sir," Lieutenant James called out, "Imperial ground forces are making a final push toward our major quantum facilities. They've figured out our power source." Vale had indeed discovered the source of humanity's strength. "Target those underground bases," he screamed over the fleet comm. "Forget the cities. Destroy their quantum weapons." Imperial troops charged toward the hidden facilities with suicidal determination. But humanity had planned for this too. The bases were protected by more than just quantum technology. "Release the enhanced units," Stone ordered grimly. From hidden bunkers emerged soldiers wearing powered armor of human design. Unlike the Imperial technology that relied on stable physics, these suits were partially powered by controlled quantum fluctuations. They moved like liquid metal, allowing their wearers to perform impossible feats. The battle that followed was unlike anything in human or Imperial history. Enhanced human soldiers leaped impossible distances, their quantum-powered weapons tearing through Imperial defenses like paper. Imperial troops found their advanced targeting systems useless against opponents who could literally bend reality around themselves. In orbit, Vale made one final desperate attempt. "Prepare the planet killer," he ordered. "If we can't have this world, no one will." The Empire's ultimate weapon began to charge. It was designed to crack planets in half, but it had never been tested against quantum interference. Dr. Cooper's alerts blared. "Commander, they're powering up some kind of super weapon. The energy readings are off the charts." Stone's response was immediate. "Activate all quantum disruptors at maximum power. Target their weapons specifically. And..." He paused, looking at a red button that had never been pressed. "Prepare the quantum cascade." The quantum cascade was humanity's last resort, a weapon designed to create a chain reaction of reality-breaking effects. They had never dared to test it at full power. Vale watched in horror as his planet killer began to glow with strange light. "No, no, fire it now. Fire it now." But it was too late. The quantum disruption field hit the charging weapon. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the impossible energy of the planet killer met the reality-twisting effect of the quantum field. The resulting explosion was like nothing either side had ever seen. The planet killer didn't just destroy itself. It created a quantum storm that swept through the Imperial fleet, unraveling ships at the atomic level. Direct hit on their superweapon, Lieutenant James reported, his voice filled with awe. "Sir, their entire command fleet, it's just gone." Stone watched the tactical display as the remains of the once mighty Imperial fleet drifted lifelessly in orbit. The Empire had launched its final desperate attack, and failed completely. But the battle wasn't quite over. Vale's flagship still hung in orbit, damaged but intact. and the Grand Admiral had one last card to play. Grand Admiral Vale stood alone on the bridge of his dying flagship. The mighty vessel, once the pride of the Imperial fleet, now drifted in space, surrounded by the quantum-shattered remains of his forces. His final message to Earth came not with pride, but with trembling anger. "You don't understand what you've done." His voice crackled through damaged communication systems. "The Empire will send more ships, more forces. You've doomed your world." In the underground command center, Commander Stone listened to Vale's threat with calm determination. Around him, his staff celebrated their victory, but he knew the war's final moments were still to come. "Dr. Cooper," he called out, "is the quantum tracking system ready?" She nodded, her tired face showing a fierce smile. "Yes, sir. We can follow their faster-than-light signatures now. They won't be able to report our location to the Empire." Stone's voice carried across all channels, reaching every surviving Imperial ship and soldier. "Admiral Vale, you came to our world thinking we were primitive. You judged us by our visible technology, by our lack of space travel. That was your final mistake." The quantum sensors showed Vale's flagship attempting to power up its faster-than-light drive. Stone continued speaking, his words carried by quantum-enhanced transmitters that the Empire couldn't block. "We knew you were coming. Not you specifically, but someone like you. 20 years ago, when we discovered quantum manipulation, we saw two paths. We could reach for the stars, build ships, spread across space, or we could prepare to defend our home." In orbit, Vale's ship shuddered as its engines fought against the quantum disruption field. "Impossible. Primitive savages. You can't." His voice faded into static. "We chose defense," Stone continued. "Every resource, every breakthrough, every discovery, all focused on one goal, making sure that when aliens came to conquer Earth, they would find more than they bargained for." Dr. Cooper's monitors lit up with warnings. "Sir, they're trying to transmit a distress signal through subspace." "Now," Stone ordered. The quantum cascade activated one final time. Reality itself seemed to bend around Vale's flagship. The mighty vessel didn't explode. It simply came apart, its very atoms unraveling as quantum forces pulled it into nothingness. Lieutenant James's voice rang out. "Enemy flagship destroyed. Sir, all remaining Imperial forces are surrendering." The celebration in the command center was immediate but controlled. They had won, but everyone knew this was just the beginning. Stone opened a channel to all Earth forces. "The invasion has been repelled. Begin recovery operations." And he paused, looking at the quantum readouts. "Begin Phase 2 of Project Phoenix." Dr. Cooper stepped forward, holding a datapad. "Sir, analysis of captured Imperial technology is already underway. Combined with our quantum science, we can be ready for the next attack." The next days saw humanity emerging from their underground shelters into a changed world. The empty cities filled again, but now they were different. Quantum technology, once hidden, became part of daily life. Captured Imperial ships were studied, their secrets combined with Earth's reality-bending science. In the Geneva bunker, world leaders gathered to hear Stone's report. "The Empire will return," he said simply. "But next time, we'll be ready. Our quantum technology can now track their ships across space. We can prevent them from ever reaching Earth again." Dr. Cooper presented the next phase of human advancement. "We're already building our own ships," she explained. "But unlike Imperial vessels, ours will be powered by quantum drives. We'll be able to travel faster, hit harder, and defend better than anything the Empire has ever seen." 1 month after the invasion, humanity launched its first quantum-powered starship. It rose from Earth not with Imperial technology, but with something entirely new, human ingenuity combined with quantum science. Commander Stone, now Admiral Stone of Earth's Defense Fleet, watched the launch from his new orbital command center. The Empire had come to Earth expecting to find primitives. Instead, they had awakened the sleeping giant and taught humanity an important lesson. The best way to defend your home was to make sure no one dared attack it again. The story of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy, carried by surrendered Imperial troops who were allowed to return home. The legend grew with each telling. The primitive world that destroyed an Imperial fleet, the humans who had learned to break reality itself. The Empire would think twice before threatening Earth again.